All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about something that's, frankly, become a must know for any marketer: media mix modeling. It's a seriously powerful way to figure out what's working in this new privacy first era. And we're going to break it all down for you. So let's just get straight to the point. Does it ever feel like your marketing is just getting harder and harder to measure? Like you're spending the money, but tracking the real impact is murky at best? Well, it's not just you. The entire industry is up against a huge challenge, and the old ways of doing things are, well, they're broken. And that feeling, that uncertainty, it's bringing us straight into what a lot of people are calling a full-blown measurement crisis in marketing. The fundamental rules of the game have totally changed. And if you're still playing by the old rules, you're going to get left behind. So what's causing all this chaos? Well, it's kind of a perfect storm, really. You've got third-party cookies basically going extinct. You have privacy laws like GDPR and CCPA getting way stricter. And then, of course, there's Apple's app tracking transparency, which has been a huge deal. You put all that together, and what you get is user-level tracking, the thing so many of us relied on, is becoming super unreliable. Okay, so that's the bad news. But here's where things get really interesting. There's a classic, kind of old-school solution that's making this huge comeback because it's perfectly suited for this very modern problem. We're talking about the return of media mix modeling, or MMM for short. So what is media mix modeling, really? At its core, it's a super smart statistical method. Instead of trying to follow individual people around the internet, which is getting pretty much impossible, MMM takes a big step back. It looks at the big picture, using aggregated data. Think total ad spend per channel, total sales, stuff like that, over a long period of time. It then builds a mathematical model of your entire business to figure out what's actually moving the needle. And this is a fantastic way to see how MMM stacks up against something you might be more familiar with: multi-touch attribution, or MTA. Right off the bat, you can see the difference. MTA is all about the nitty-gritty, right? The user-level clicks, the real-time events. It's very tactical. MMM, it's strategic. It's looking at the whole pie: online, offline, you name it. But here's the absolute kicker, the most important part. Look at that last row. MMM is built to withstand all these privacy changes. MTA, on the other hand, is incredibly vulnerable. And yeah, don't for a second think this is some new flashy trend. MMM has been around for ages, and it has a serious track record. We're talking decades ago, giants like Kellogg's were using these exact same ideas to optimize their entire marketing mix, not just ads. We're talking product, price, promotion, distribution, the whole shebang. That just shows you how powerful and comprehensive this thing really is. All right, so now that we know what it is, let's peel back the curtain and see how it actually works. Let's get into the core mechanics that make this model tick. Okay, the very first thing you need to understand about MMM is a concept called decomposition. It sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. The model's main job is to split all your sales into two buckets. On one side, you have your baseline sales. These are the sales you'd get no matter what, just from your brand being out there, seasonality, that kind of stuff. And on the other side, you have the incremental lift, and that's the good stuff, the sales that happened only because of your marketing. And here's a super simple way to visualize it. All of your sales, right? They're just a combination of that steady baseline plus that extra lift from your marketing. The whole point of MMM is to measure that second bar with incredible accuracy, because that incremental lift, that is the true value of what you're doing. Okay, now for one of my favorite concepts in MMM. It's called ad stock, or the carryover effect. Think about it. When someone sees an ad, its influence doesn't just vanish into thin air, right? It sticks around for a while, kind of like an echo. A TV ad you ran last month could still be nudging someone to buy today. Ad stock is how the model actually measures and accounts for that lingering, brand-building impact over time. It's pretty brilliant. All right, next up is another key idea: saturation, or what you probably know as diminishing returns. And this is just pure common sense, right? You can't just keep pouring money into a channel and expect the same results forever. At some point, each extra dollar you spend starts bringing back less and less. It's like filling a glass of water. Once it's full, any more you pour in just spills over the side. MMM is designed to find that exact tipping point for every single one of your channels. And the way it finds that point is by using these things called response curves. Because, not every channel is the same. Some might be kind of linear, though that's pretty rare. Others might have what's called a concave curve. You get these huge wins right at the start, but then they fade out fast. And then you have S-shaped curves, where you have to spend a certain amount just to cut through the noise before it really takes off, and then eventually hits that ceiling. Understanding these different shapes is the key to spending your money way, way smarter. Okay, so that's the theory. We've got the concepts down. But now for the big question. How do we actually use all this? How do we turn these models and this data into real-world, budget-changing decisions? And this is where you have to make a really important distinction between two kinds of ROI. There's your standard, everyday ROI. That one looks backward. It tells you how efficient your past spending was. It answers, hey, how did we do? But for planning the future, you need something else. You need marginal ROI. This is the forward-looking metric. This is the one that answers the billion-dollar question. Where should our very next dollar go to get the biggest bang for our buck? And this right here, this quote, it just nails the entire optimization strategy. The logic is so simple, but so powerful. You find the channels with low marginal ROI, the ones that are saturated, and you start shifting that budget over to the channels with high marginal ROI. You keep doing that until the potential return from your next dollar is pretty much the same everywhere. That's how you know you're maximizing your total revenue. It's beautiful. Now, look, MMM is incredibly powerful for that strategic big picture planning. But, and this is a big but, it's not a silver bullet. It can't do everything. To really win, you have to see it as one piece of a much larger unified measurement playbook. It is definitely not a solo act. And that's because it has a couple of natural limits, right? First, there's an agility gap. Since it's built on historical data, it takes time to update. So it's not the tool for making quick tactical changes in the middle of a campaign. And second, there's a granularity gap. It gives you that amazing high-level view of which channels are working, but it's not going to tell you which specific ad creative or keyword is the winner. So, to cover those gaps, the smartest marketers out there use what's called a triangulation framework, and it works just like this. Step 1. You use MMM as your big strategic map. It tells you how to allocate your budget across all your channels for the quarter or the year. Step 2. You use something like MTA as your GPS. Within the budget MMM gave you, MTA helps you navigate the day-to-day, optimizing your tactics in real time. And finally, Step 3. You use experiments, like lift tests, to validate everything. They act as your reality check, confirming what's really causing lift. So think of it like this. You're building a modern measurement dream team. MMM is your strategist, looking at the long-term plan, quarterly, annually. MTA is your field commander, making short-term, daily or weekly adjustments. And incrementality testing is your quality control, running event-based experiments to make sure everything is on track. They each have their job, and together, they give you a complete, unbeatable picture. So if you remember one thing from all this, let it be this. We live in a world where every ad platform's dashboard is telling you it was the one that drove the sale. In that world, MMM serves as your objective, third-party referee. It's based on your business results, not theirs. It makes sure your budget is being spent based on true business value, not just some vanity metric on a platform's report. And that brings us right back to the beginning. With user-level data disappearing fast, the old ways of proving your worth as a marketer are just evaporating. So the question you really have to ask yourself is this. How confident are you really that the next dollar you spend is going to be the smartest dollar you can spend? Media Mix Modeling gives you a rock-solid way to answer that question with confidence. Thanks so much for joining me.